I'm not necessarily going to harp on the Americans and freedom thing, but sometimes you do need to connect to the conservatives on that. So that's one way in which I will absolutely not fault her for like harping on that, because it is one of our proclaimed values. Laverne Cox is a trans woman actress from Orange is the New Black, was her kind of big thing. I haven't really seen much of her in the last couple of years. I was actually kind of surprised to see she was on MSNBC, The Morning Joe, recently, and I just wanted to like watch these videos with you. I watched part of this first one. I wanted to see what all she has to say. I'm sure that I won't have anything to disagree with on this.
What I would first of all say to all the people, there's so many wonderful pundits and politicians who say, well, gender affirming care for children, that's something that we should debate, right? Children don't know. And I would actually disagree. I would actually say, hashtag, it's none of your business. If you are a parent with a trans child,
I think this is strong messaging.
It is your business. I think the American Medical Association, the American Academy for Pediatrics, the Endocrine Society have developed wonderful protocols that have worked for treating trans children. And parents who are dealing with that can go and get that information. If you're a parent of a trans child, it's your business. If you're not, it's none of your business. What adults do with their bodies is none of their business. This is America. It should be about freedom, bodily autonomy. I'm firmly and staunchly pro-choice, and we should have the right to do with our bodies what we want to in America. And even for children, that's their parents' business, it's their doctor's business. It is not a legislator's.
She is so like emotionally charged here. Like, I feel like she tried really hard to get her points like practiced in her mind, but she's also like, she has these moments where she's grasping for the words because she's just like a little bit heated here, which I mean, I appreciate. I'm fucking heated about this shit too.
Business who doesn't know anything about it. So what I would suggest, because whenever we're debating whether trans folks should have access to healthcare, we're objectifying them. When we see senators in Supreme Court confirmations talking about mutilating children, we're objectifying children, talking about children's genitalia, which is disgusting.
Thank you for saying it. Oh my God, thank you for saying it.
And when we objectify, we dehumanize. And that is what this whole project has been about. Not making trans people real people, human beings who exist. I exist. There's no trans question. I'm not a question. I exist here. I have a material reality, lived experiences, and trans people have always existed, and we're not going to stop existing if people don't teach about us. So we should have acceptance. It is our business if we're discriminated against in healthcare, in employment, in housing, which many of these people want to do. That is our business if we believe in liberty and justice for all Americans. But what people do with their bodies is none of our business.
I love the like the set of her lip right at the end. None of our business. Like, I can't get that frame again. It won't let me get that same frame again. But yeah, they're blank smiles. Yeah, it was a little bit awkward. But there's more to this segment. We're gonna watch a couple more of these. They're each about like a minute and a half long. So we're just going to see what all else she had to say.
It is well known. It continues to be a part of my life. And I'm exhausted. And trans people are exhausted. Yeah. But right now, there's just a lot going on. And what really has called me to course is this latest bill from Oklahoma that would ban gender.
So yeah, she's like, I'm back on the news for the first time in a while because of this bill in Oklahoma where they're trying to make transition illegal until you're age 26. Like, you can't do it until you're 26.
Affirming care up until the age of 26.
Yeah.
For years, we've been hearing from anti-trans pundits and politicians that this is about children, this is about protecting the children. But I think what this Oklahoma law reveals is that it's never been about the children. It's always been about scapegoating trans people, stigmatizing us, and criminalizing our existence, making us not exist. And we have pundits, anti-trans pundits and politicians on television every single day saying horrible things about trans people, on the internet saying horrible things about trans people, things that are leading to bomb threats at the Boston Children's Hospital. Chaya Raichik, the founder of Libs of TikTok, boasted proudly on Tucker Carlson that she has communicated with Ron DeSantis' administration and that her work, her anti-trans propaganda work, led directly to the Don't Say Gay bill. So the way we talk about trans people...
I didn't realize that Chaya Raichik was like claiming that like, oh, all of the effort that I put into putting all these teachers on blast is what got the bill to pass in Florida. It's fucking stupid. God, I hate that chick.
And with trans people in the media has an effect on these policies. A lot of the ways in which we're seeing trans people be talked about on the internet, in the news, those exact ways are finding that language is finding its way into legislation. So I wanted to come on today for all of those people who have the best of intentions and want to support trans people, don't know the right language, don't know how to talk about it, or scared to say the wrong thing. We need the right language to combat this. Anti-trans folks have been setting the agenda and how we talk about this, and we need to take back the narrative, and we need to do it right away, because it is, what is it? January 19th, and there have already been 151 bills targeting trans and LGBTQ people introduced in state legislatures just this year alone. 151. It's January 19th.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, that like distills it a little bit. Just like, as you know, as trans people, I don't think we really have the option to just be like, oh, you know, hardy har, I'm just gonna go about my daily life and pretend like none of this is happening. Like, this is just constant. It's just constant. And there are a huge number of bills in such a short amount of time. Like, within the first week of the year, there were a bunch of pre-filings done. So yeah, 191 for sure. What's up, Peanut Butter Blondie? Welcome in. How can I donate money to? What are you referring to me, John Keller? Or are you like, how can I help with these, like with the activism and the laws getting passed and stuff? Because I don't really have good resources. Oh, if you're here on the website, there are buttons up top. There's a donate button. There's also a subscribe button, which is just a $5 a month subscription that gives you access to some other emojis and stuff that aren't otherwise not available. Thank you for checking. Like, I appreciate your intent to donate. Yeah, 191 bills. Like, we're barely 3 weeks into the new year, and this is just, they're proposing them again in the same kind of vein as they were trying before in the state that my little brother lives. Like, he just got put on testosterone because he just got to be like the age where you're allowed to do it, and they're going to try to make it illegal for him until age 21 or 26 or whatever it is with this most recent pass through. And it's exhausting. Okay, we got another one of these. We're going to look at more Laverne Cox. What else do you have to say, lady?
You said something really important, that we have always existed. And because of your example and your advocacy, young people now grappling with these questions about their identity have someone to look to.
Yes.
When you and I were growing up, we're around the same age. We didn't have that.
No.
We didn't have people to look up to. So I'm curious for you what it was like growing up in Alabama. What was it like for you? What was it like to you to not have these examples?
I mean, there were suicide attempts. There was a tremendous amount of shame. I was bullied every single day. I was chased home from school. I was beaten up multiple times. There were no trans people on television, and what I did see was deeply disparaging. I didn't want to be trans. I did everything I could not to be trans, but I'm trans anyway. I grew up in an environment where there was no education about trans people, yet I was still trans, and yet I found my way. Media stopping education about trans people doesn't stop us from being trans. And I know, because I'm 50 years old and I know my history, that trans people have always...
Girl, are you serious? Are you fucking serious? What is it with black women? They just like look perfect forever.
At various ages have gotten access to gender-affirming healthcare, but they've gotten it on the street. They haven't gone to a doctor to get blood work. They haven't been able to do it in a healthy way. Just like with abortion, people will have abortions. Will they do it and be able to do it in a healthy way? Becomes the question.
You're connecting it to women's health, which is what I prefer to call abortion, because it's a woman's choice. What form of health care, part of the medical care for women. It's the same issue. It's limiting what doctors can provide to individuals who have...
That's like such a weird, like, I was trying to decide how to exactly respond to that. Like, I don't know exactly how to respond to when cis women say like, oh, when we discuss the abortion issue, I want to very specifically use the word women. Like, to say that to a trans person, it feels like a little bit like a microaggression. Like, Laverne can't get an abortion because she can't get pregnant. Yeah, so I don't know if she intended for that to be weird, but it felt weird for her to say that. Like, I really prefer to couch this as a women's issue. I don't know. Anyway, moving on. What else? Like
made a choice.
It's even referral. So in Arkansas, as well as this new law in Oklahoma, if you refer someone for gender affirming care, that can become a felony now, just to refer someone. So they don't want trans people to exist. That is really what this whole project is about. And you can't make us not exist.
I think that a couple of these other trans activists are they're just using the more like less charged objective words, but they are still saying ultimately what my messaging is when I'm talking about genocide. Like, they want us to not exist, and they're making a lot of efforts to make us not exist. They want to eliminate us. If that gets the point across, then sure, I'll consider that more rhetorically effective, whatever. I think she was trying to make the point that framing is important in a bad way. I don't know. I just don't like it. I don't like it. Being trans and capable of giving birth puts you in a category that they just don't want to acknowledge in any way ever. That's what I mean. Like, I am trans and capable of getting pregnant, hypothetically, and we have been denied healthcare on that basis. Like, oh, you have ovarian cancer, but, since you think you're a man, I don't know why I should have to treat you. Like, oh, if you really think you're a man, sucks about your ovarian cancer, and then just fucking let someone die. Robert Eads, by the way, it's the person I'm invoking there. But same kind of thing with needing gynecological care. It's really, really hard to get any kind of gynecological care without being misgendered a lot or outright neglected, like outright left in painful situations. So anyway, let's continue here and watch this last one from Laverne Cox. She shifts into talking about anti-Semitism here.
There's been a rise in anti-Semitism all over the country right now, and it's disgusting and it's horrible. People should know that one of the first things that the Nazis did, and I think it was in 1933, was they burned Magnus Hirschfeld's Gender for Sexuality. Magnus Hirschfeld was studying trans people, LGBTQ people. Lily Elby, who the film The Danish Girl was about, she had her first gender-affirming procedure at Magnus Hirschfeld's clinic. The Nazis burned it down. All of this research, and there were LGBT.
I just got like almost chills because I don't think I've ever seen someone talk about Magnus Hirschfeld on the news before. That I actually am like pretty overwhelmed by that. Like, this is something that I think is really lacking in the discussions that we have about this, is that there is a direct through line between Nazi views toward homosexuals and transsexuals. Like, that's the language that would have been used at the time, I think. Like, they very specifically targeted these groups of people. And so every person who today believes that trans people are trying to groom your children and recruit and steal, those people are informed by a Nazi worldview. And I don't ever see people talking about it. And like, I almost thought I was about to cry for a second there. Like, it's so powerful, and I hope to see more of her and more of her in the news doing this. It's so important.
LGBTQ people in concentration camps stamped with pink triangles.
And the pink triangle. Listen, I have been saying this for months, and it is so validating to see this on this platform. That's, I think, what I'm getting overwhelmed by. Is because I have been saying this for like almost a year, and someone is finally like out here on television saying like they hurt us in the Holocaust, they stamped us with the pink triangle. I wonder if Laverne watches Luxander. I fucking doubt it.
In this moment of a rise of anti-Semitism, we see this rise, this documented rise in anti-trans legislation and rhetoric. These are not a coincidence. So as we fight anti-Semitism, as we fight for reproductive rights, we have to fight for trans rights as well. And they're on TV every day. We need to be more vociferous. We need to be more engaged in this. And I know trans people are a small part of the population, but it is not unrelated to everything else that is happening.
Yeah.
This is about justice and bodily autonomy for everybody. It's about freedom. We're Americans.
Yeah.
We should be about freedom.
I'm not necessarily going to harp on the Americans and freedom thing, but sometimes you do need to connect to the conservatives on that. So that's one way in which I will absolutely not fault her for like harping on that, because it is one of our proclaimed values. It's just that fascists don't care about those values. Fascists will invoke the idea of freedom in order to spread their message. Like, they'll invoke freedom of speech, but they don't actually care about freedom of speech. Like, they don't believe in freedom of speech. They're weaponizing your belief in freedom of speech to get away with saying fucked up shit. Like, so yeah, in this way, I appreciate that Laverne is being straight out about this is what's happening, tying it in with the anti-Semitism, showing the clear like connection between the rise in these two things. Because yeah, again, in the Holocaust, it was trans people and disabled people and Jews and Romani people, like, that were all being targeted by this. So yeah, if you can hammer on the American values, there are a lot of Americans who do think that that's what America stands for, even though we don't. So we can hope that, like, that's the aspiration for America. Like, that's what we hope and wish that America could be. And I think that it's okay to, I guess, to keep aspiring toward that, even though that's never been what we are. So yeah, it's effective messaging. You can do the same kind of conversations, yeah, talking about Medicare for all, the best nation that ever was, right? Happy New Year, and thank you to all of my viewers, and especially my patrons, and especially these ones: Tiago Nascimento, Mersh Rolvag, Jovian F. Gaudreau, Bean, Heather Clarkson, Amanda B., R. Halverson, Athiet, Sarah A., Michelle Winter, Wellington Marcus, Suzanne Maynard, Nova, Mr. Atheist, and Elizabeth Bartell.